Hello and welcome to Get Yourself Optimized. I'm your host, Stephan Spencer, and today it is my pleasure and honor to have Marisa Peer joining us again. It's been a few years since she was on, and what an amazing human. She's changing and saving lives right and left. And let me tell you a little bit about her, and then we'll get into the interview. Marisa Peer is a British therapist, best-selling author, transformational leader, keynote speaker, and creator of the I Am Enough movement. As the award-winning founder of Rapid Transformational Therapy, or RTT, she created a complete solution-based treatment therapy that has changed the lives of thousands of people via its training program, which, by the way, my wife, Orion, is going through, and it's amazing. RTT draws on the principles of hypnotherapy, psychotherapy, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, cognitive behavioral therapy, neuroscience, and neuroplasticity. And here is a sought-after speaker, media personality, and best-selling author of 5 books. With over 3 decades of experience as a renowned therapist, she's worked with a range of clientele, including rock stars, CEOs, Olympic athletes, royalty, and Oscar-winning actors. Marisa, it's so great to have you on the show.
Well, thank you so much. 7 books actually now, but thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be
books.
here and honored.
Amazing.
Yeah, my 7th has just come out this week.
Congratulations. And what's the title of that book?
You. It's called Tell Yourself, let me put it here, Tell Yourself a Better Lie. And it's really, all my other books have been self-help books, but this book is interesting because it's 10 clients' case histories, and it shows you exactly what I did step by step with 10 people with very diverse histories, from alcoholism to OCD to bulimia to being numb to feeling that they weren't smart to actual fear of needles, and one of them had an inability to orgasm or connect with people. So I picked 10 very different subjects, and it's really their story and how we identified early on the lie they were telling themselves and how this impacted their entire life and how changing that. And it's got a chapter in it called RTT for me, and it shows you if you identify with Tara, if you identify with Ryan, if you think, oh, I feel like that, this is what I did with them. By the way, you can do the same thing. You can do a lot of things I did. It doesn't stop you going to therapy, but for many people, it's a real help because you go, wow. My passion has always been the simplest things that change your life. It's why I created the I Am Enough movement. You can see I've got my cushions everywhere because I really believe that if you can ingest that and say it and claim it and state it and affirm it every day, you make it your reality. Your words shape your reality. And if you change your words, change it to your realities. I've always been a passionate fan about making therapy better for everyone, simpler, more straightforward. And I've trained 11,000 therapists, and they are amazing people doing extraordinary work all over the world. But yeah, I wrote this book because I just wanted people to know that you can get better fast. I mean, not everybody's going to get better really fast, but for many people who have the offshoots of I'm not enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not lovable enough, I'm not interesting enough, worthy enough, intelligent enough, thin enough, attractive enough, good enough. You are enough. And if you can just start to state that, affirm it, claim it, you can manifest it too.
Yep, I love that. And
so one of the reasons the reason I wrote this was people would write back and say, you know what, when I saw you talk, or I came to see you, or I saw one of your therapists, they did one thing was a game changer. Someone else would go, well, they did this thing and it changed my life. So I kind of collated the things that clients would say, this was a game changer, this changed my life on a dime. And when I collated the particular things, I said to the readers, look, you can do this too. It's not even hard work. It's not like I've got to go to the gym, I've got to do the plank and do 600 sit-ups. No, you can do things that take minutes of your day, but that powerfully change your life. I think many people get scared of change. It's so much work. I've got to write out 100 goals every day, and I've got to write all these affirmations and statements and have this diary and this journal. And frankly, I don't have the time. Who does? We've all got partners, children, businesses, homes. So I wanted people things they could do that took minutes, that changed their life. And that's why I really wrote that book, so that everyone could have access to these things that are very simple, but their strength is actually in their simplicity and indeed their power.
That's beautiful. When you were talking about your book, it reminded me of another book I recently had. The author of Perry Marshall is the author, and the book is called Memos from the Head Office, and it's a collection of stories, really case studies of people who have had divine intervention in various forms through messages, sometimes through psychics, sometimes through just hearing a voice in their own head, or like some sort of intuitive spark or hit that just they followed and it completely changed their lives. And it can be just a simple thing, just a moment, a decision, a choice, a small change that leads to a huge outcome, like a life-changing outcome. And yeah, so there's some similarities there in that. It sounds
Yeah,
like.
that happened to me many years ago. Many years ago, sitting in a doctor's office. I think I was only about 23, maybe less. And he said to me, "You'll never have children. You can't possibly conceive." I didn't have any periods at all. He said, "You'll never have children. Even if you get pregnant, you could never carry a child from. You've got this thyroid issue, and you'd only pass that on." And I heard a voice in my head going, "Do not let that in. Don't let." And I remember saying to the doctor, "You know what? I'm just going to stop you now because I'm not even trying to have a baby now. And I don't want to hear that. I'm not going to let that in." And I think he was a bit shocked. I just got up and left because that voice said, "Don't let that in." And many, many years later, I was sitting in another doctor's office. He said to me, "You have cancer and it'll probably come back." And I remember that voice go, don't let that in." And I said, "Wow, what do you mean it's probably?" He said, "Well," and he did this. He went, "It has your address. It knows where you live. It will probably come back." I thought, wow. And he wasn't a horrible doctor, but what a thing to say.
Yeah.
Has your address, knows, complete with a knocking. And I heard the voice again say, "Don't let that in."
No,
And I said,
don't let
"That's
that
up
in.
to
That is
me.
awful. Wow.
Don't let that in. I let that in." And all through my life, I remember my daughter when she was at school, and she said, "Want to be an artist?" I said, "Well, she's never going to be an artist." I said, "Don't let that, darling, don't let that in." Her teacher said to her, "Do not apply to a good art school. You'll never get in. Apply to the worst one, you might get in." I said, "Darling, you apply to the best." And she got into the best, and she's a very successful artist. So
It's
we can
beautiful.
all go through life going, "I'm not." My ex said, "Who's going to love you?" I'm like, "Well, why don't you sit back and watch who's going to love me? Someone better than you. You'll never amount to anything. Really, I'll show you." And I think it's very important to decide, I'm not letting that in. My ex says something awful like, "Well, who's going to take you on with 4 kids?" Well, why don't you just wait and see? I'm sure no one said that to Heidi Klum when she left Seal. Someone took her on with 4 kids and she's very happy. So it's very important to, and I love it when someone said to Naomi Campbell, "Naomi, black girls don't get on the cover of Vogue." She went, "Really?" They said, "That door's shut." She went, "Shut, I'll kick it open." And I love that. When someone said to Meryl Streep, "Meryl, you're just not pretty enough to be an actress," she went, "That's one opinion in a sea of opinions. I'm going to find another opinion." And actually, what she really found was her own opinion. Who said that you got to be beautiful to be a movie star? And by the way, if you see her in Out of Africa when Robert Redford was washing her hair, she looks so beautiful. But people who've made it have always had that thing, "I'm not letting that in. I'm going to let that in." Imagine someone saying to Barack Obama, "You can't be the president of America." Really? I think I'll just show you. So it's not letting in other people's critical words are so important. And no one manages to do that all the time. But if you can do it most of the time, or indeed say, "Well, that's your opinion, but I'm going to have a better opinion," then it really changes. I mean, I know when I created my own therapy, I was up against many therapists who didn't like what I did and would say the words rapid and therapy should never go together. Who are you? And I think, well, I remember that great poem by Nelson Mandela, actually by Marion Williamson, that he spoke at. Who am I to do this? Who am I not to? You don't get anywhere by hiding your light. You're supposed to shine. And so we live in a world where there's many critical people who are really invested in being mean, frankly. But you have to decide. They can say whatever they want to say, but You didn't have to let it in. I read something the other day, so the lion doesn't console itself with the opinion of the lamb. I thought that was very funny. But, don't let it in, but also fix your stuff. I read a beautiful expression that said, when you don't fix your wounds, you bleed over the people that never cut you. And I thought, that's so profound, isn't it? If you don't fix your wounds, you bleed on people that didn't cut you. And we all have to fix our wounds so we don't bleed on the people that didn't inflict them on us.
Yeah. Wow. That is profound. Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. And so when you just ignore the naysayers, the critics, and including your own inner critic, which is just a voice of maybe parents or other caregivers or the bully at school. It's giving yourself the best shot at creating your own reality. And if you could speak a bit about this idea of manifesting or creating, or maybe even co-creating your reality, this idea that we can make real so much more than we give ourselves credit for. We're so much more powerful than we believe ourselves to be. Could you speak to that for a few minutes?
Yeah, just one thing. I don't ignore all the critics. Sometimes criticism, if it's constructive, can be very useful because you speak too fast and sometimes you swallow a word. And I notice I do. I've got a lot of feedback on my course, not all good. And I can only use that to make it better. So don't ignore all criticism. Constructive can be very helpful.
Right.
But destructive,
so you just you use what works and you discard the rest.
Yeah. And your own destructive, that's the worst. And you see, somebody can be mean to you because they're having a bad day. And so you understand. But when you're mean to yourself, there is no understanding. When you're mean to yourself, the harshest words you'll ever hear are the words you say. And the most debilitating criticism is your own criticism, because your mind doesn't have any agenda except to put yourself down. So it's very important with criticism to work out which one it is. And self-criticism is so soul destroying. But the opposite of that, while the worst criticism is criticism that you do, the best praise is your own praise. There is nothing that will build you up like self-praise. If you praise me massively, you might have an agenda. But when I praise myself, there isn't an agenda. Same thing with criticism. If you diminish me, you have an agenda. If I diminish myself, I have no agenda. So minimize praise, maximize criticism of yourself. It will change your life.
Oh, I think you meant the other way around. Maximize.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, maximize praise and minimize criticism.
Minimize criticism. That's good constructive feedback. Maximize praise and minimize criticism. It will dramatically change your life.
Right.
And another thing that will change your life is manifesting. And people get very confused. They go, hey, I read The Secret. I'm just lying on my sofa manifesting a great person. Well, unless you want to get together with the Amazon delivery guy or Uber Eats, that's probably not going to work. So we've got very confused that I could just sit like this and manifest. And if you want to manifest, you've got to do three things, and none of them can be bypassed. And the first is the most profound. Decide you are worth whatever you want. If you want love, if you want wealth, if you want success, even if you want great health, you must say, I'm worth it. 80% of success is having an I am worth it mindset. Many people rush into creating a great business or a great relationship, but I don't really deserve this. I don't feel worthy. I've worked with so many rock stars who got rid of all their money because they never felt worth it. 70% of lottery winners will be dead broke in 3 years. You know why?
Why?
They never felt they earned it. So the first thing, and it's 80% of it, is to sit down and go, I am worth it. I deserve it. I'm lovable. I'm worthy of love. I'm worthy of success. I'm worthy of wealth. You might think, but I'm not worthy of wealth. Yes, you are, especially if you decide to do good things with it. So once you've spent enough time going, I am worthy of it, I'm deserving of it. It's like that L'Oreal advert, you're worth it. One of the most successful adverts in the world, by the way. It makes you buy more expensive shampoo because you go, well, if Jennifer Aniston is buying it, I'm worth it too. So the first thing is I'm worth it. That's 80% of it. The second thing is, what does it look like? I want to be a millionaire, but what does that? I don't know. I want love with whom? Do you want love for an hour, an afternoon, the rest of your life? Who do you want to have love with? Some crazy bad boy that's going to cheat on you? Let's be clear of what does it look like. For me, I wanted to write a best-selling book, but I had to get clear on that. When I was 25, I was asked to write a book, and I couldn't do it because I knew it meant sitting at home on my own for weeks on end. So what does it look like? What is it? Do you really want to have a six-pack? Because that looks like going to the gym every day and not eating many carbs. But when you know what it looks like, you go, yeah, I know what it looks like. I just don't want it enough, actually, or I know what it looks like and I really want it. We come to step 3, which is called doing the work. And many manifestors have completely missed that point. I want to write a book. I'm writing that book for 12 hours a day. And for me, when I finished the book, I actually had no idea that the next step was doing even more work than I ever worked on writing the book to make it a bestseller. Doing interviews, writing articles for magazines. I met John Gray many times. He said, every day I spend hours keeping Mars and Venus a bestseller. And I didn't understand how much work is going on speaking tours, going on people's blogs. So the work is something people have missed. Why should I have to work? I don't want to work, but anything that you requires work. And many years ago I met someone who had a great idea for a book, really great. I took him to my publisher and they went, we can't sign him. He can't speak. He's very shy and nervous. The book's amazing, but if you can't be a speaker, you can't be published, because nowadays you've got to get on the road, do a TED talk, go to book signings. So any goal of significance requires you to learn something new. And I became teaching people my method. I didn't know what SEO even meant. My husband explained it to me. And that's the same thing. You have to do the work. So decide you're worthy. That's the easiest bit, and it's by far the biggest. Get very clear on what it looks like, and then decide how you're going to get it. If you want an amazing career, decide what is that. I'm going to have to learn something new. I'm going to interviews. If you want an amazing relationship, you can't lie on the couch watching Netflix and expecting someone to appear on a white charger. You have to go out and do it. And many people get really confused with the last bit. Oh, I've got to do some work. Yeah, a lot of work. But the great thing is that when you do what you love and you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work. But you have to do all of those. That's a manifestor. I know I'm worth it. I know exactly what it looks like. And I'm out there working towards it almost every day. And it feels great. It feels exciting. It feels wonderful. But you got all of those 3 things, and you can't say I do the first one. I just do the last one. You got to do all 3. And people who are very successful know exactly what success looks like, and they're prepared to work for it. Imagine if you wanted to be an Olympic athlete. That requires a lot of training. You got to go to bed early, get up early, go running in the snow. You can't go out drinking beer and pizzas. I want an Olympic medal, and I know what I got to do. I want to find love, and I've already got 2 kids, so I don't want to find some wild, crazy guy that's going to a bar all night. I want to find a family man who's going to be devoted to me and a good role model. And the more clear you are, the easier it is. When I wanted to find love, I became very clear on what I wanted. Somebody funny, kind, interesting, but also someone who could travel with me, because I couldn't be with someone that's only get 2 weeks holiday a year, and I got to be in the office at 7. I don't come home till 8, and I'm not free because I'm on the road all the time. And so I needed someone who also worked for themselves. And everything I wanted, I got, except I forgot to add, I wanted someone super tidy, but then I figured I could pay someone to do that. But I knew what I wanted. So when it was in front of me, I thought, yeah, this is what I want. This is a good guy. He's kind. He's funny. He's compelling. And he's really a smart marketer. And he was the only person I ever would have married because he ticked all the boxes. But before then, I was going out with wild, crazy people because they were very exciting and dramatic. But I realized there's no, that doesn't work. Drama's great when you're dating some crazy rock star, but no, long term, it's a really, really bad idea.
Yeah.
So once you get those three things lined up, honestly, you can have whatever you want with bells on, but you got to know what it looks like. I worked with a reality star a while ago, and she was running the marathon. She said, I didn't know what 25 miles was. What I don't know what that is. I knew I was running 20, but I didn't know what 25 miles was. So I turned up. She never rehearsed, never even broke in her running shoes. Do you think she could run 25 miles? Of course she couldn't, because she didn't know what it looked like, or that it required quite a bit of training too.
Right. I want to share briefly here my story of finding Orion and Orion finding me, because it sounds very similar
Mm.
to what you were describing of writing down all the attributes that you wanted, and it just so happened that all the boxes were ticked when you met John. And for me, I wrote down on a vision board my relationship vision, and I wrote down everything that my partner, my soulmate would be, and everything that I would be with her, and what the relationship would be like. So it was not just my wish list for the other person, but how would I show up as well. And I got very specific, and then I prayed to God, please bring her to me right away. And 12 hours after I wrote that, she was introduced to me by a mutual friend. And 18 hours after that, I said I love you to her, and 9 days later, I proposed to her in a hot air balloon, and she said no. Well, not yet. So I think I shared that story with you previously. But the ordering up from the universe exactly what you want is so critical, and being very precise about it, and timing too. I didn't say someday I want her to show up. I said right away in my prayer.
Right now, yeah, right now. And that's very important. I rather like you, I have a vision board. I was writing a book, and I wanted to get a great book deal, and I put up a vision board, and I stuck all the things on Marisa Peer's best-selling book, and I took up the Sunday Times, and I whited out the top one, and I put mine in, and I did a picture. Then I thought, well, while I'm doing the book deal, I may as well find an amazing guy. So I took a picture of a hot air balloon and someone holding an engagement ring behind their hand, and a cruise ship, and I stuck it all on this board. And I didn't even write it, I just looked at it, but I'd write on top of the board. And you can be very messy, it isn't perfect. I wrote on it, this is me, and best-selling writer, blissfully, happily married. And within 10 months, I was married to my husband. But I put up that vision board because my agent called me and said, hey, I know you're putting on a talk this weekend, and I'm saying, so as I've cancelled, to put it all back on because I hadn't sold enough tickets. So I put it back on, and I knew that HarperCollins and Penguin were all coming. And that's why I made the vision board. I didn't even prepare my talk. And the very next day on that talk, I think Hachette, my publisher, offered me a fantastic deal. It was actually an amazing deal, and I signed up to it immediately. And within 10 months, I was married to my husband. So, and we're still very happy. But a vision board is a great idea of looking at what you want. But then if you look at it, well, how am I going to get it? If I want that, if I want a book deal, I better go out and talk to agents. If people say to me, I want to be an actor, what are you doing? Nothing. If you're going to agents, oh no, I couldn't do that. I might get rejected. Well, you might, but if you want it so much, you have to know what you want, why you want it, the roadblocks that might get in your way. Then you got to go for it. You also have to learn to not take no for an answer. I work with many successful billionaires, and they actually all share 5 things in common. They do what they don't want to do to get to where they want to be. And they tend to do the things they hate first in the day. They take action every day in the direction of their goals when they're on the way to it. It doesn't mean they work a 12-hour day, but even on a Sunday, they might make one phone call, look at one YouTube video. They just don't take no for an answer. They see something as a delay, not a denial. and they are super good at praising themselves. I'm doing great. This is amazing. I did a fantastic day. So many of us now work for ourselves. And if you don't praise yourself a lot, this book is amazing. This business idea is amazing. Oh my God, the words coming out of my mouth when I speak are just phenomenal. If you don't do it and you don't have a boss to do it, that praise muscle is going to wither. And you got to build it up as if you were working out in a gym. So do what you don't want to do to get to where you want. Do it first. Take action every day. Do not take no for an answer. See a denial as a delay. Praise yourself a lot, and also delay gratification. If you do those things, it's almost impossible not to succeed, because that's what every successful person does. It's what I do. And I love my success. I enjoy every minute, but I kind of know I earned it because I saw it, decided I was worth it, and then did all the work to make it happen.
Yeah, you did all
And no
the
one did it for
preliminary
me. I did it all
work
myself.
before you. Some
Yeah.
people don't even get out of bed until they feel like they are uh, like aligned with their mission and who they truly are, and feel worthy enough and everything. They're just not going to stay in bed until they
Mm.
are up to that peak state. And I love that idea.
Yeah, and they also have a very strange belief that if it's going to be hard. I met someone recently who had an amazing idea for a food product, and I said, "Wow, this is yeah, but I don't want to work hard. If I have to work hard, it's not meant to be." So I'm not, because I said you need to go to a farmer's market. Oh no, I'm not. I said, why not? She said, because that's work. This is divinely aligned. The idea of going to a farmer's market and selling my amazing product, I don't want to do that. And I said, but you got to start somewhere. And what she created was so amazing, but she just didn't have that concept that, yeah, you got to do some hard work now. And I see so many people brought up with manifesting. And one of my friends said, I don't want my kids to work hard. Why should they? Why should they do what they don't want to do? But my daughter is an artist. I said, darling, you're such a talented girl, but you have got to go and walk into galleries with your stuff. And that's not easy. But if you want to be a famous artist, you got to do what makes your toes curl. Go and say, hey, here's my iPad. This is my work. Would you like to show it? And she doesn't like that. I said, but here's the choice. Give it up. That's what you hate. Do what you hate to get to it, or give up your dream. And many people will give up their dream before they do what they hate. And that's not easy for an artist or a writer or a performer or anyone to say, hey, do you like my product? But if you want to make it, you got to get over that part and just do it anyway, because otherwise, how can you be a success?
Yeah. And that reminds me of something I learned from Dr. Joe Dispenza, which is that you have these well-worn grooves in your brain, and these are personality traits that it's just you're on autopilot, essentially. I'm totally paraphrasing this, but if you want to be different and get a different outcome, you have to change. It's basically rewiring your brain so that when you're about to do the same thing that you've always done, you say to yourself, change, and boom, you do something differently, because that's the prompt. Yelling out the word change, do
Yeah.
something different.
Yeah, that's neuroplasticity, which means that when you think different thoughts, your brain starts to almost rewire itself. Everything changes. Your neural pathways change. If you think a thought over and over again, you create a neural pathway.
Yes.
And when you think a new thought, you create a new neural pathway. And one of the most vexing things about the mind is that we are hardwired and super coded to go back to what we know. The brain loves to return to what is familiar while avoiding what's unfamiliar. You have a 2-year-old child, a beautiful boy. He is extraordinary.
Yes, he is.
I had the joy of meeting him. But you see, a 2-year-old says, I don't want that yogurt. It's pink yogurt. I only like blackcurrant yogurt. Or I don't like that cup. I only like my blue cup. And what they're actually saying is, I don't know that. It's unfamiliar. And by the way, 500 years ago, that could have killed me. So a child on the prairie will only eat the berries they already know. And this avoiding unfamiliar kept us alive for so long. So now we see people say, oh, my dad was mean and cold and critical. I love mean, cold, critical men. They're my type. They seem to do it for me. My mother was diminishing and aloof, and I love aloof, diminishing women. What you're doing is running back to what you know and running away from what you don't know, because the mind likes what's familiar. But here's something even more helpful. You can choose to make anything you like. You can put a bit of silicone on your finger and put it on your eyelid every day, and then even weirder, squeeze it off, and it becomes the most normal thing in the world. Flossing your teeth is familiar, but not for everyone. So look at your life, and this is what you do. Look at all the stuff you don't like. I'm going to make that unfamiliar. Sugar in my coffee, staying in bed too long, wasting time looking at videos. I'm going to make all that unfamiliar. And what I'm going to make familiar is coffee without sugar, doing some stretches when I wake up, doing what I don't want to do like first. So although the mind likes what's familiar, that's a fact. Another fact is you get to make anything you like familiar, anything you don't like unfamiliar. And the best way to do this is to make praising yourself super familiar and criticizing yourself so unfamiliar that it feels weird when you do it.
Right. So when neurons fire together, they wire together. And conversely, when neurons stop firing together because you've stopped the bad habit, you've
Yeah.
stopped the negative
Mm.
self-talk, then those
Mm-hmm.
neuronal pathways stop firing together and they just wither and go away.
Yeah, if you every day start to play with your eyelashes like that every day and look in your mind, you'll see that you're forming a neuron as you start to fiddle with your eyelashes. And if you suddenly tie your hands behind your back so you can't fiddle with your eyelashes anymore, that neuron will start, that neural pathway will actually start to diminish. It starts with like a little piece of thread and it becomes a rope, and then it just unravels itself because it can't continue because you've stopped the behavior. And when you say things like, I'm an idiot, I'm a loser, that's never going to work out. Everything I touch falls apart. You're creating a neural pathway that becomes familiar. And when you say, no, never again, you create a different one. And I did that when I decided one day, you know what, I'm a therapist. This is not acceptable to date wild, crazy people. And I just decided one day that I was going to make the kind of person I wanted to spend my life with familiar. And I had to say to myself, I am making that attraction unfamiliar. And I was in the green room of a studio. I'd just done a show, and this guy came. He was very much my type, damaged, compelling. And as he came to speak to me, I just said, I'm so sorry, I got to go. And I just got my coat and went home. I thought, I know, I'm making that unfamiliar. It was a little tiny bit of work. Didn't take long. And then when I met my husband, I thought, I'm making this familiar. Here's a guy that adores me, puts me first. And I decided, because it was a decision, to make that familiar. And you do get to decide, make praise familiar. If you're never praised and someone says, hey, oh, I love your voice, go, oh, I hate my voice. I love this product, or I love whatever. They go, oh, no, I'm terrible at that. That wasn't very good. Because if praise is unfamiliar, what's so sad is when someone praises someone who doesn't get praise, they actually reject it
Right.
and add in criticism because that is familiar. So you got to make what is comfortable uncomfortable, and what's uncomfortable comfortable. It's a choice, but it's a choice that will change your entire life. And it actually is quite easy once you get used to it. So I really, really recommend that you do that because it's so life changing, but so incredibly simple.
Yeah. And to get a little bit woo woo here, when you have this picture in your mind of your life and how amazing it's going to be and how you're going to show up and everything, and you've got the desire to bring that to fruition, that thing, that event or that experience or that beingness shows up in your vortex, and then it's just a simple matter of having it manifest in your life. It's like you have the quantum fields of all possibilities, and then you believe something untrue that's not helpful, some critic or your self-criticism, and then you collapse all possibilities into that one negative outcome, whereas you could do the opposite and collapse all possibilities into the ideal outcome that you've visualized and rehearsed in your brain over and over and over again.
Yeah, I wrote something called The Rules of Your Mind, and I wrote 26 rules of your mind, and they're all in this book. And what you're saying actually aligns with the rules of your mind, and here are some of them that will help you. Whatever you focus on, you move towards. Whatever you focus on, you get more. Or focusing on having a headache or an injection hurting will make it hurt more. But if you don't focus on it, it doesn't. So whatever you focus on, you move towards. The mind learns by repetition. This is another rule of your mind. Every thought you think is a blueprint that your mind, body, and psyche work to move towards. The strongest force in you and in me is that we act in a way that lines up with how we have already defined ourselves, and yet we can change the definition. When dealing with the subconscious mind, the greater the conscious effort, the less the subconscious responds. There are so many great rules of your mind. They're all listed in this book. And when you think, oh, I see, I didn't know that every thought I think, I'm going to mess this up. I'm going to be late. I've ruined everything. It's going to be terrible. You make it real. In fact, many years ago, I was in a taxi going across London to the station to go and work with a very famous footballer in Manchester. And there was some protest going on. I thought, oh, now I'm going to miss the train. And my mind's like, oh, I'm going to miss the train. I'm going to be there late. This is a super important footballer. He's going to be furious. I've messed this up. I should have got to the station an hour earlier. And I began to feel terrible. And then I thought, you know what? Why are you? This is crazy. He's a footballer. They finished practicing at 2:00. He's got the whole day free. It doesn't matter if I'm late. There's a train every 20 minutes. He really won't care at all. And so I began to change the thinking. This is all fine. I got a mobile phone. I'll ring him. He's so delighted and honored that I'm going up to Manchester to see him. I could have made him come to see me. As it happened, I got to the station on time. I still caught the original train. But he wouldn't have minded, because I had to do that thing of I'm talking myself into how awful this is, but I can talk myself out of it. And then I had a client who couldn't get in a scanning machine. He had cancer and he could not get in the scanner. I said, what's going on? He said, well, I just feel like it's a metaphor for the coffin I'm going to be in one day. I said, and here's a rule of your mind. The way you feel about everything is down to the pictures you make in your head and the words you say to yourself. You're telling yourself that scanner is a reminder of the coffin you're going to be in. He said, but also the drawer in the mortuary. I'm like, yeah, how does that even help you? When I go in a scanner, I go, this is so cool. I've got 20 minutes to myself. I'm just lying here. I'm pretending I'm in my bed at night and I'm so chilled. And everything was a game to him. And he said, oh, I can choose to believe the scanner. I'm lying on a beach. I'm having a wonderful time, or just imagine I'm lying in my bed. So if the way you feel about everything is down to the pictures you make and the words you say, and it absolutely is, you have the joy of changing those pictures and changing those words, because it will change your life. And first it's what you do, but then kind of becomes who you are. For me, when I was told I had cancer, that was an enormous shock. But then I had womb cancer. I thought, well, that's a stroke of luck, isn't it? I don't need a womb. It's done. It gave me the most amazing child. And I sort of thought, well, my womb's done its job. I can let it go. And it probably sounds a bit woo and Pollyanna that I said to my womb, I'm really sorry, but I have to dispense with you because I am staying alive with this great kid. I'm not going anywhere. But you see, because I've done that so much, I didn't even do it. It did it for me. I began to think, well, it's a stroke of luck. I don't need a womb. Could have been an eye, could have been a leg, could have been a bone. It's a womb that I don't need. And it's very easy to take it out too. It's not even invasive surgery. I went home the next day. I was on stage a week later. I was in Costa Rica 3 weeks later teaching a whole course because I thought, well, it's just a blip. I had it and now I don't have it. And my friend said, isn't that funny? You had cancer on Monday. You didn't have it on Tuesday. I said, I know. It's great, isn't it? Because it's a choice. I could have chosen to go, oh my God, this is so unfair. It could be everywhere. What if it comes back? But you see, what's so great about choosing how you think is it starts off being what you do, but it really becomes who you are. It kicks in the most awful moments and says, oh, you're going to be fine. This is just a blip. I didn't even have to do that. It did it for me. It kicks in when you miss a flight or something goes on. It goes, it's all fine. It's all good. You know, we were flying to Austin on the 23rd of December, and I got woken up at 3 a.m. from London with some serious issues, and we had to cancel our flight. And I said, well, and so everything was a bit of a challenge. But then we found another flight. We got on the plane later. We arrived late. We missed this party we're going to, but it didn't matter. And I could have thought, oh my God, this is a disaster. This is a nightmare. I thought, well, it's a challenge. You know, when you have a big company, things go wrong. You couldn't be naive enough to think I've got this company and it's all perfect. It is amazing, but things happen. But you see, I can't choose to stop things going, but I can certainly choose how I react to it. I can choose how I feel about it, how I think about it. And I've trained 11,000 people in my method, and most of them have now got that same ability to say, wow, this is the best job in the world. There's challenges. Some clients are challenging, but they're the best teachers of all. The challenging ones are the ones you learn from. So remember, it's how you look at it. Events affect you, but the way you look at them affects you so much more. And you have the power to change how you look at it. That's why I call this book Tell Yourself a Better Lie, because honestly, your greatest problems in life, a lot of them stem from the lies that you are telling yourself. My kid is driving me insane. I'm going mental with tiredness. I could jump out the window with fatigue. My partner makes me want to die. My boss is a boss from hell. You got to stop saying that. Say, well, my kids are challenged, but you know, they keep me up all night. They won't sleep. In 15 years, I won't even know where they are. When they're 18, they won't even be coming home till 5 a.m. If at all, they're often out all night. I can't get my kid to feed themselves. Well, that's not going to be going on when they're 8 or 9 or even 6. So for something to get you, it has to be what I call P. It must be personal. It's all about you. It must be permanent, and it must be all pervasive. So your kid at 14 doesn't like you. That's not personal. Most 14-year-old kids have issues with their parents, and they're super boring and stupid. It's not permanent, because by the time they're 20, they'll be just lovely again, or maybe 25. And it's not all pervasive, because it's not going on when you're having a lovely dinner with your partner, or having sex with your partner, or out at the cinema. So if it isn't permanent, it isn't personal, and it isn't all pervasive, it can't hurt you.
Yeah. Now,
so I always found that's helped me a great deal.
So when you had the issues with your thyroid, and you weren't getting periods, and you hadn't had a child yet, did you, and I know you didn't let in what the doctor told you or was trying to tell you, and you just stopped him, but what else did you do that made this an eventuality and inevitable for you to have a child?
Okay. Yeah. I never believed I wouldn't have a child. I never let that in. I would not allow myself that. I have a saying, you cannot afford the luxury of a negative thought. I see every day with my clients what negative thinking does to the body, how it affects cortisol and inflammation. So I never believed it. I believed I would have a child. I thought it might take me a while to conceive that child. In fact, I got pregnant immediately. And that was the beginning. But then I was told, well, you know, this baby's not going to go to full term. This baby's not going to be healthy. This baby's going to have all kinds of problems, and you probably will lose the baby. And I had to talk to that baby every day and tell her how much I loved her. I knew it was going to be a girl. I didn't know why, but I knew. And I just had to decide not to let that in. So I would talk to my body and go, listen, your job is to grow a baby. That's what I got a womb for. Your job is to grow the baby. My job is to grow the baby emotionally. Your job is to grow her physically. So I tell my body, grow this baby. And I tell my mind, and a few times the doctor's saying, oh, you're losing the baby, we went for a scan, oh, you're losing the baby, or the baby's not growing. And I would come home and put my hands on my pregnant tummy and tell her how much I loved her and wanted her. And I remember one day my doctor saying, well, the baby's going to be very underweight. And she was born at almost 8 pounds. She was perfect. And that was such a lesson for me. Wow. If I'd have allowed it, I'd have been terrified about that pregnancy, which is very bad for the baby. All the stuff they told me, none of it was true. And so that was a real lesson. And shortly after that, I wrote my book, Trying to Get Pregnant and Succeeding. And so many babes have been born because of that book, saying, you know, you have a power. When that baby's in your body, you get the chance to influence it. I have a friend who had donor egg, donor sperm. And when she eats watermelon, her eye shuts. Really weird. And when her baby was 2, she gave him his eyes shut. She goes, I'm so thrilled because, you know, it's a donor egg, a donor sperm, but I've given him my allergy and I couldn't be happier. I said, well, that, of course, because even though it was a donor embryo, your body grew him. Your cells, your blood, your body grew him, and he's just like you. And she loves that. And so I think so often we're told such conflicting stuff. Here's the thing you're told. Well, you're 35, your fertility's dropped off a cliff. You're 39, who are you kidding? I mean, you can't get pregnant at 39. But they also, when your husband doesn't have enough sperm, I mean, you need like 500 million sperm. You only need one, actually. And of course, when you're at school, they go, don't go in for that heavy petting because one sperm can leak out without penetration and get up there and get you pregnant. Oh, but I also heard that my husband needs millions and millions of sperm to get me pregnant. He does. Well, but how can the one do it then? So you've got to weigh up these very conflicting beliefs we hear. You know, if you go for an x-ray, it says on it, if this client is between the age of 14 and 52, check they're not pregnant. 52, not 35. And women have had babies in their late 30s forever. There's a very famous poet called Elizabeth Browning, who had a baby at 44, having had tuberculosis in the 1800s. So it's not that doctors aren't wonderful, caring people. They are, and therapists are wonderful, caring people. And parents are, but they tell you the craziest things. That's never going to work. You're too old to have a baby. Who's going to want you with 5 kids? You've got fat thighs, so you're never going to find love. You've got to have thin thighs and fat hair. But if you've got fat hair and fat thighs and thin hair, then that's not right. You've got to have breasts up here like 2 grapefruits. And it's such a shame that they tell us all this stuff. Yeah. You're more likely to get abducted by an alien than get married in your 50s. I got married when I was 50. I went to get my wedding dress and I did think, and they said, oh, you know, our highest demographic now is women in their 50s. I got pregnant when I was 47. And I remember someone saying that to me too. That's so weird because the highest rate for terminations now is teenagers and women in their late 40s who just didn't think that could happen. And so,
well, you know,
it's really
I have
important
a family member who her mom got pregnant with her at age 57. She was a surprise.
Yeah, 57. I bet she was thinking, but you said, and that's what's so interesting. Before you make a belief, find proof. You know, before you think, who's going to want me? I'm 50. Look at all these women, Michelle Pfeiffer, who look amazing in their 50s and indeed 60s and indeed sometimes their 70s. So, you know, it's called confirmation bias. You make a belief, and then your belief makes you, and then you start to look for proof that this belief is real. And once you have confirmation bias, you go through again. Well, you see, I knew it, but you can make that good. I've made a belief. I'm magnetically lovable. Someone's going to just worship me. And now I'm going to find proof. Or I'm not lovable. I don't look right. I've got nothing to offer the world. And now that belief is making me, and I'm now looking for proof. You can do it anywhere you go in the world. So you make your beliefs make you, and then you look for confirmation bias that those beliefs are real. So use that for your benefit. Make great beliefs. They will turn around and make you, and then you'll find proof of what you're saying is true. Your beliefs are yours to change. Your thoughts are yours to upgrade. Your stories are yours. Your lies are yours to make better. Instead of thinking, I've got a terrible memory, I've got a fantastic memory. I'm always sick. My body is a wellness making machine. I'm terrified of getting COVID. Well, I get that, but how about saying I've got a fantastic immune system? My immunity is, people say, well, where's the defense? Well, it's in you. Your first line of defense is your immune system. You can be exposed to a virus and never get it. And that doesn't mean I have particular opinions about COVID or indeed any other illness, but I do know that to be sick, if you are physically, mentally, and emotionally out, you're more likely to get sick. If you believe that you've got a fantastic immune system, and never say this, I always get sick on planes. I always get sick in the winter. I always get my sinus headaches when the seasons change. I always break out with hay fever in the summer. Don't allow yourself to say that. Say, my body is a wellness making machine. My immune system is amazing. I recover in super fast time. That's what I did. That's why when I had surgery, I was at home the next day having a wonderful time, because I said to my body, your job is to get better. If you talk to your body like you talk to a 10-year-old kid, hey, body, digest this food. Hey, body, I'm on a plane. Send sleep to me because I'm going to wake up on a different time zone. I tell my body what to do all the time, and I really appreciate it. And it's wonderful because it pretty much does what I tell it to. It sometimes has moments of rebelling, but on the whole, I give it instructions. They're very clear, and it responds. And that's another thing that is super helpful. When you talk to your mind, here's how to do it. Very clear. You must speak in the present tense. You can't go, next year I'm going to lose weight. Next year I'm going to make money. Next year I'm going to find love. As you said, it has to be right now. So talk in the present tense. Use the words right now, this minute, and make the pictures exciting. Use words in front of, I'm phenomenally amazing. I'm magnetically lovable. I'm super duper, amazingly, impressively healthy. So turn your mind on with exciting words that make pictures. So present tense, really exciting. Use relevant, up-to-date words and say, now, even if you say, I've broken my leg, my leg's healing now, this minute, you can't say, well, in 6 months. You have to say now, because the mind only works in the present tense. It only responds to words that make a picture. It's like saying, I'm not thinking of a snowman. Well, you have to think of a snowman. I'm not thinking of chocolate cake. Well, what are you thinking about then? So rather than going, I mustn't eat cake, I mustn't eat cake, I mustn't eat cake, you say, I love eating healthy food. My favorite dessert is berries. I find them so satisfying, and my body uses those berries. I've got an amazing metabolic rate. I feel so healthy. I'm lean and healthy. But, don't do this for weight. Do it for health. Do it for vitality. Do it for energy. But if you make the pictures exciting, the words exciting, make it relevant, make it now, you can have whatever you want. You really can. I mean, I could never have imagined as a kid the life I have, the marriage I have, the relationship with my daughter, the career, the 11,000 people I've trained who are all just amazing, and the books I've written and the talks I've given. That would have been, I couldn't have even fathomed that as a young kid, that would be my life. And I got all of that by changing my thinking.
It seems like
And you can
there's
do it too.
a lot of similarities between these kind of affirmations of the inevitable, amazing future, or the kind of best version of yourself, and the self-praise, right? Like using those very expressive and flowery and compelling adjectives, both in your affirmations and in your self-praise, would be an example.
Yeah, I think, there is nothing that will build you up like self-praise, and nothing that will pull you down like self-criticism. And so it's a choice. I can praise myself or diminish myself. Why would I diminish myself? I could go, oh my God, Marisa, you were such an idiot today. You didn't leave in time. You didn't plan the route. You spoke too fast. You messed it all up. And then how's that going to, I could say, yeah, today, I don't want to leave in time and I'll never do that again. And I did speak too quickly, but I'm really working on that. And I was really silly not to have a sat nav, but now I know better. In fact, many years ago, I was going to a very important meeting. I got in the car, I had a sat nav, and I just got there. And I could either turn left or go into this tunnel. That minute, my sat nav died. I hadn't got any glasses. I couldn't read a map, and I went in the tunnel, and it was a tunnel that went on for miles under the River Thames. I was so late for that meeting. I was so cross with myself. I came home. I put 10 pairs of these really cheap glasses in my car. I put extra charger. I thought, I'll never let that happen again. I can beat myself up or learn from that mistake. Charge the sat nav, have a charger in the car, have extra pairs of glasses, and to err is human. To forgive yourself is divine. You're allowed to make tons of mistakes. You are not allowed to beat yourself up and again invite cortisol and inflammation and stress hormones because you're a human who made mistakes.
Well, everything, as you said, it's just a blip. And if your feathers get all ruffled over the small things, then you're creating a reality of big things that you're going to have to ruffle feathers with. And so I just, I love all the stuff that you've shared. And I know we're out of time, but I was hoping that you could just share one nugget, maybe because I know you were on my wife Orion's podcast, Stellar Life, just had that interview. What would be the biggest nugget, takeaway, gem that you spoke about in that interview with Orion that you'd like to leave our listeners with?
It would obviously be her telling me. So it would be your wife's story about how she loves being an RTT therapist, how it's giving her so much. She's changing people's lives. But of course, when you change people's lives, you cannot do that without changing your own. When you give other people meaning and purpose, you give yourself meaning. When you help other people to grow and you give them meaning and purpose, you grow and you have meaning and purpose. So for me, people think I give them so much when I teach them how to be therapists or do a YouTube video, but actually they give me so much. It's a real win-win. I always feel that every client I've ever seen has given me every bit as much as I've ever given them. I give and receive. They receive and give. And so that for me was just so wonderful to hear her telling me how much she loves this career. How much as a mother she can really fit it around raising an incredible person. And I love that. But, it's all stories. Everything is stories. One of the things I love in this book is the story of a girl called Jasmine, whose father, when she was a little girl, found a new person, and she and her mother moved out, and a girlfriend with her child moved in, and she felt permanently replaced. But her father would visit her, and he'd always give her this particular type of candy. And as a grown-up woman, whenever she was sad, she'd eat that candy because she confused that candy with her father's love. And she said, the next day after that session, I went into a store, I looked at the candy, thought, oh, bless me for thinking that could ever make me happy. And I love that because you didn't go, oh, what an idiot, you've been eating this stuff for years. You went, bless me for thinking that could ever make me feel my father loved me. My father's not good at expressing it, but that's not my problem. His story is not my story. And so I know we're out of time, but it's so important to understand that your story is your story, your mother's story. You should have been a boy. You should have been a musician. You shoulda, coulda, woulda. Don't make someone else's story your story. You have the joy and the honor and the freedom to write your own story, edit your story. My story is my mother wanted a different baby to me completely. I was the wrong baby. But that was her story. It wasn't my story. My story was I was meant to be me, and I've got something amazing to offer the world. And we all have the choice to go. My mother said, don't trust a soul. Can't even trust your shadow. My dad said, all people are out to get you. Whatever they said. You never make money in this world. Everyone's out to con you, don't let someone else's story define you or shape you. Write your own story, create your own story, edit it, shape it, change it, rewrite it. And in doing that, it changed. I think it says on my book, edit your story and rewrite your life. And we all have an ability to do that. It's never too late. And when I edited my story and rewrote my life became amazing. But anyone can do that. I wasn't that special. I just realized I didn't have to listen to my mother's story or indeed my father's story. Everyone, other kids are better than you. They're more compliant. They're so easy. You're so difficult.
Mm.
I just decided my story is mine to edit and update. And I rewrote it. And if you get this book, you can do exactly the same. Actually, in a matter of hours, and it will stay with you forever.
That's beautiful. And, I got goosebumps, well, angel bumps, really, when you were sharing Jasmine's story, because I pulled up the table of contents for the book. And that was the name that I was drawn to. I wrote it down in my agenda of I wanted to talk to you about the Jasmine's story, but we ran out of time. And so I put it in the we didn't get to it list. And then you brought it up. I'm like, amazing, amazing.
We brought it up. Yeah. What was so amazing is that when I was working with her, there was someone in my audience. I was teaching doctors how to work with eating disorders. And this woman said, hey, I work with these. I can fix bulimics in 40 sessions. I'm like, oh, that's lovely. But Jasmina came up and she was bulimic. And in an hour and a half, she's never had that issue again, ever. Because she realized that she just had the wrong story and that food isn't love and she doesn't need that. And if her father sent her massive shipping trunks full of that same candy every day, that would never be love.
Yeah. So you can do talk therapy for 5 years, or you can cure or heal a wound from childhood in an hour.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with talk therapy. It's just long. And if you're in immense pain, you don't have time for that. When I see people in pain because they have headaches or a nervous stomach or irritable bowel or phobias or fears or addictions, they don't have 5 years. Sometimes they don't have 5 weeks because they're really up against the wire of being sick and tired of being sick and tired. So it's no different to turning up in A&E or indeed at your chiropractor. If you're in pain, the person you're seeing should be aiming to get you out of that pain as fast as they possibly can using the tools they have. And all RTT therapists are no different to going to a dentist, a doctor, a chiropractor. They're going to get you out of pain as fast as they can using the best tools they have. And it really, really
It
works.
does work. It's amazing. And
So if you want to find one,
I don't have.
Sorry, if you want to.
Do I want to? Oh, yeah. So our listener probably wants to learn more and find an RTT therapist in their area, or maybe even hopefully get trained and certified in rapid transformational therapy themselves. So where do they go to do any or all of those things?
If you go to rtt.com, you can find out how to train with me. I do live training all over, but also online. If you want to find someone who does what I do in your area, go to rtt.com. All of our clients, most of them do both live sessions and online. They don't even have to be in your area. So you can find someone doing what I do at rtt.com. And if you want to train with me and do what I do, and again, the training is both live and online all over the world. Go to rtt.com. If you want lots of these I'm Enough bracelets, go to imenough.com. If you want some free audios on health blocks, love blocks, money blocks, success blocks, go to marisapeer.com. If you want to get this great book that could change your life by the time you finish even reading it, it's going to be on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. It has 4 downloads, and each one of those would cost $35. The book costs about $12. But I think for the first week, we're doing a special offer of just $1 for the ebook, but it still comes with the 4 downloads, including installing the cheerleader, having phenomenal confidence, and everything else you need to feel great. So get it. And if you don't like it, I'll personally give you a refund because I know it will change your life.
So that's Tell Yourself a Better Lie, your newest book. What a gift. What a gift you are giving to the world through your trainings, through your books, through the interviews that you do, including this one. You're a real light in the world, lighting other people up. This, as Yannick Silver says, a sun lighting up thousands of other suns. And thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. Thank you for listening. It's been a joy and an honor. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Well, that was Marisa Peer, and I'm Stephan Spencer, your host. Make it a great week. Get out there and do some good in the world, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Stephan Spencer signing off.